So Chad, you must be a busy guy.
It's too much too fast. This
Yeah.
industry is it's hard to keep up with the volume of changes and the pace of those changes, and today was no exception.
So today a big document came out.
A very big document came out, yeah. I mean, the Cannabis Act came into force on October 17th of this year, and what we've known for most of 2018 was that at some point edibles were going to be regulated. What the announcement had always been was that edibles would be, and when I say refer to edibles, I'm referring to sort of all kinds of ingestibles, food and beverage products. We had known they were going to be
They're not legal now, right?
They're currently not legal.
And they're not, and that's what they said. They said you can get marijuana, but for a year.
That's right. That's
so
right.
they're monkeying around with all the different legal aspects that they have to figure out, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We had known that the plant, like the flower, seeds, oils, were all going to be legal as of October 17th, and that within a year of the legalization date, we would see edibles be regulated. So now, earlier than expected, Health Canada released their draft regulations just 90 minutes ago on the regulation of those edibles products and topicals and extracts. So while the industry is still poring over those details and trying to figure out what comes next, there's going to be a 3-month consultation period beginning now. It closes February something to get submissions in. I forget the exact date off the top of my head, with a view towards finalizing everything, I think, by the end of the first quarter. The exact legalization date is still not, I believe, known, but with a target of probably the fall of 2019.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, do you extrapolate Health Canada releasing this information? Would you tend to extrapolate that and suggest that perhaps that edibles will be legal by by October 2019? Do you think the timeline is there, that they came out now, as opposed to maybe coming out a little bit later and then delaying the edibles date for later in 2019?
Yeah, I do think that. I mean, I can't claim to know what was in the minds of the drafters at Health Canada who came up with these regulations, but I do think that was a big element of it. I mean, the genie's out of the bottle, right? It has been for a very long time, and arguably the federal government kind of missed an opportunity in the first place to have regulated edibles along with all the other cannabis products at the time. I mean, people are looking for ways to, new kinds of ways to consume cannabis, to infuse it into different food and beverage items. They're going to be doing it from their homes. I think that one of the really exciting elements for the industry about edibles in particular was that with all of the news that we've seen about some of the issues with supply shortages and people not necessarily embracing the government sale or private retail sale and still going to their ordinary sources, is that edibles was a bit of an outlier from all of that, right? You can't go to your dealer and buy olive oil or butter or some of the stuff you can do some interesting kind of cooking or beer or wine. So I think that that's been a really, really strong focus of the industry in terms of what kind of phase 2 is, and especially the success of the retail strategy as that starts to roll out across the country, is being able to have those infused food and beverage items on the shelves. So given that that genie is very much out of the bottle, I do think that there was, I'm just speculating that there was some probably some spirit on behalf of Health Canada to get these regulations in the hands of people sooner, to capture that market in a regulated environment as quickly as possible.
Are you talking to other legal people just in Ontario, or would you be talking to other provincial legal people as well to get what? I mean, I think there's strength in numbers, right? So to go through a major document quickly, you might have a little confabulation and just try to
it's luckily a very collegial industry, right? The cannabis industry, and so these regulations are really brand new, hot off the press. And what happened this morning is that there was an initial public statement by Health Canada summarizing the key points of the regulations. That was. And
you were expecting this? Was this coming out? Were you expecting this today?
There had been widespread speculation that we would see these regulations before Christmas. And I had actually been anticipating it by tomorrow. So the fact that it was today, I think, came as a surprise to many. I count myself among them. And shortly on the heels of the public statement, there was a backgrounder that Health Canada released and sort of a helpful infographic, helpful in the sense that it organized into very accessible columns about what the key points are from the regulations, but left a ton open to interpretation. And then just 60, 90 minutes ago, the actual 145-page document was released. And so we're all still pouring through.
So you probably haven't had a really good chance to even go through it. But is there anything in there that stands out, like that you could talk about that that may, oh, this is kind of interesting, we never thought of this?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think the big takeaways are, number one, that there is a limit on 10 milligrams of THC per standard serving, which was to be expected and is consistent with what states had been doing. Number two is that there's going to be, I think, the same kinds of restrictions on packaging and labeling as there are with respect to cannabis products today. And I don't think there was any real reason to expect differently, but in the states, in Colorado and in Washington, there was a lot more. There's a lot more permissive in terms of the branding that you can do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but then over the last few months, we've seen stories of kids in Canada and the U.S. who've accidentally ingested gummy bears, and so I don't think there was any real likelihood that we'd see a lot of flexibility or a lot of sort of room for kind of liberal branding on these packaging elements, or sorry, on the packaging of products themselves. So none of that is a surprise to see. What was surprising to see, and I think has caused a bit of an uproar or controversy over the last 60 to 90 minutes, is that there's a line in the regulations which states that you can't have any cannabis edible product which is associated with an alcoholic beverage. And those words are causing a lot of confusion, because I think I've heard from a number of people already who view that as a category killer, right? Especially on the heels of all the announcements we've seen about cannabis companies and beverage companies.
Well, they just, there's a big one in the States today with Tilray.
Tilray announced yesterday with InBev.
Yeah, which is Labatt's, right?
Yeah. And we have Sproutly Canada. We have, of course, Hexo Corp with Molson. So,
right.
Do you? I know it's a little early to extrapolate what's going to happen, but do you think it has the potential to affect, the joint ventures that these companies have announced?
I don't think it's going to be the category killer that on first instance of looking at these regulations, it sort of appears to be, because when you dig a little bit deeper in the regulations and the description of them, what it really says, quite interestingly, is that you can't call your product a name that is associated with alcoholic beverages. So you can't call it beer, you can't call it wine, you can't call it vodka, you can't call it whatever, right? So we now need new words. And this is not new kind of branding terminology. These are new.
So it doesn't kill the category. You just have to reword it.
Yeah,
rewind it.
Right. So someone's got to develop that quickly and own that quickly, because they will get to own the word that we as an industry start to refer to beverages that share certain properties with other alcoholic beverages, but don't get to be called that. Cannabis infused. Fill in the blank.
Chad, thank you so much for coming by on such short notice, I understand. And we'll probably have you back again if that's okay with you, just to follow what's going on. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me.